So good morning, my dear ladies. And I think this is going to be a different session because you just heard somebody from the corporate world, and I'm here from the government. Okay, so something parallel. Both work towards the growth of the economy of the country. So my name is Ratna Prabha. I belong to the 1981 batch of the IAS. Originally from Hyderabad, but allotted Karnataka cadre, and I retired as the Chief Secretary of Karnataka in 2019. And my journey with women began from the beginning of my career. And do I speak about myself, or do I have to look at some slides? Or breaking barriers. Okay. 1 minute. So I'll just. So what has happened? I just wanted to mention that when we are talking of breaking barriers, I learned my first lesson in 1986 when I was the special DC, which means Deputy Commissioner of Chikmagalur district, where we had a project called DWCRA, DWCRA, Development of Women and Children in Rural Areas, which was a pilot project in those days for the development of women and children. And I was very young. I was around 24, 25 when I went to the district. And there was this teacher who came and told me something very interesting. He said, I'm a teacher. You are an officer. I don't know whether I can tell you something. I said, of course you should, because I'm very new to the service. He said, very few women get into service. Those were the days. And you come and you just do what the men do and go without making an impact on the society, more so impact on the women. Now God has given you an opportunity to work for women. Do something for women and handhold them and leave a mark for the women and on the women. I think that was a very good lesson for me. And from that day, wherever I worked, I did my bit for women. So the first lesson is, if you are a woman in position, whatever position, do something for the other women. That's what I learned. No jealousy. No jealousy. Cut it off. Cut it off from your body. World has enough space for everyone. That's what I feel. So now coming to breaking barriers, do you want me to make a presentation or should I just talk? I think I'll. So I think I'll just talk of the time given to me, Suma, so that it's easier for me to connect rather than making a presentation. So that's how my journey began. And my journey is now 44 years. I've been in public life 44 years. The first thing I want to share with all of you is, we should not have a barrier. Why I say is, why do we think that there is a barrier? The moment you think there is a barrier, then that becomes a disadvantage for us. My understanding is that if you have progressive parents, that is God's gift for you. Because my parents, my father was an officer, my mother was a doctor in those days. She was one of the first doctors from her, district to, go to Madras and do the medicine there. And then, she was from Mangalore. And in those days, Mangalore was under the Madras presidency, so she went to Madras. And I think having a mother who was progressive made all the difference in my life. So here we are, ladies who are here, who are mothers or to-be mothers. And if we do not differentiate between a boy and a girl at home, then that barrier is gone. Because I had two older brothers, and my parents always said, my parents, especially my mother, said, you have to achieve something in life. You have to achieve. So there was no question of, talking of marriage, this and that. I had to achieve, along with my brothers. So my eldest brother became a doctor, went to JIPMA. My second brother went to IIT Madras. And my mother said, you either become a doctor like me or be like your father. So I was quite, scared of this dissections and, cutting a frog. And in those days, we had all those. So I moved towards arts and joined the civil services. So the first thing I feel is if you have progressive parents, support, the barrier is not there. Second thing is, it's not enough if you have your parents' support. You yourself should have the motivation to do something. It's not enough if your parents say, okay, do this, that, but then you don't have the motivation. So the second thing is that advantage of having progressive parents along with the motivation of doing something in life and the push you get from them, makes all the difference for the women. Now the third thing is, I was a very shy girl. You can't imagine that I'm standing here and talking. When I went to Missouri for my training, we had something called the probationer's talk. And every probationer had to come and talk about something in their life. And I kept postponing talking, and my course director asked me, why are you scared? What's the problem? Is anybody troubling you or something? I said, no, sir, I'm just very nervous and I'm very shy. He said, how can you be both? You are a bureaucrat, you have to be in public life. How can you be so shy? Because what I want to say is, such a protected life I led, under the shadow of the parents, and suddenly coming out into the open and then going out for the training. Of course, I was decided to be the last person to speak. And when I came onto the stage, everybody said, we're going to pull your leg, we're going to tease you, this and that. But then the audience was very cooperative, and then I gave my first probationer's talk. And then when I went to the district, in my first posting, Bidar, which was the border of Karnataka and also borders Hyderabad, I could speak in Hindi. There was no need to speak in Kannada. And I used to avoid talking. Then finally, it's the second posting when I came to Chikmagalur, my boss told me, you have to speak Kannada and you have to write Kannada. I'm not going to allow you to speak any other language. Then I was forced to speak. And whenever we used to go to an event, he'll say, now my specialties he'll speak and then I will speak. So I was forced to speak Kannada, forced to speak, do public speaking. And that is how the other barrier of being shy, not able to communicate, I overcame that. So it's an opportunity. Ultimately, if you have an opportunity, probably, you change. Then the third thing was, I was always posted in a district where I was first. First Lady Assistant Commissioner for Bidar. First Lady Deputy Commissioner in Raichur, all backward DC. First Special DC to Chikmagalur. I was first Special DC to Bangalore. Then again I went back to Bidar as the Deputy Commissioner. So wherever I went, I had to work with men, naturally. I had to work with different types of men. Male bosses, male politicians, MLAs and ministers are all politicians, subordinates, all men, public, all men. So you are the only person trying to solve the problems and issues of the society. But when they know that there is a lady officer, then a lot of women also come with their problems. And the first thing I learned from the then Chief Minister Ramakrishna Hegde was public grievances, dealing with public. So he was very particular that the officers should deal with public and solve their problems. So I started talking to people and started, resolving their issues and problems. And from a shy person, I became so bold. The opportunities gave me the platform to deal with situations. Drinking water problems, some atrocities, some dowry deaths. There were so many issues. I'll tell you one very interesting thing. When there is a dowry death, there is something called inquest, where the body is exhumed and the assistant commissioner is the person who gives the order for the, exhuming the body. And I had to go and stand there. And it was very, very difficult for me to handle this situation. And I think that makes you bolder. So how situations, change your mindset makes you stronger. And the other very interesting thing which I would like to share, when the time is up, let me know when it's 5 minutes. Other interesting thing was, there were family planning operations when I first joined. Okay, government gave targets that you should do family planning operations. Now, first of all, I didn't know what was a family planning operation. I was so innocent. First posting, 22 years. My DC came and said, out of the 4 talukas, 5 talukas, you should do 100 operations. By evening, 500 operations should be done. And, there was a big camp. And our entire, bureaucracy, my subordinates, they used to go, of course, we used to do campaign 1 month in advance, that there's going to be an operation on such and such a day and blah, blah. So they used to go and motivate and bring. The men used to run away because they didn't want to get operated. Then they used to motivate the women. Imagine women were given 150, 200 rupees for each operation with some utensils and all that, and they were brought and they were taken in. And now when I look back, I wonder, I didn't know what it was, but it was a job I had to do, and I was motivating all my subordinates to reach our target. Now, of course, the families are under control. There's no need for those kind of, campaigns to be done. Similarly, I did some literacy campaigns. There was no literacy among women. So we had to go and talk to women to get themselves to know to read and write. And we used to go in the night to the villages and talk to women. So all this, indirectly, I grew as a human being. I grew as a person. And suddenly I realized, when I look back, I'm not the same person. Whereas the shy Ratna Prabha who couldn't talk, who couldn't, interact with people, her words wouldn't come into her mouth, and how I have emerged more or less as a leader and people looking up to me. So I think this breaking barriers which we are talking of, we should not feel that we have a limitation. We should not think we have a limitation. And the second thing is, when we are dealing with people, I think our womanhood should not come in the way. In other words, we should not think, I'm a woman, therefore I can't do this. I'm a woman, therefore I need this. I'm a woman, that's why I can't travel. I'll get tired. I'm a woman, I need a break. We should not think that. We are working for the people. I mean, you're all in corporates, I'm in government, I have a different role. Probably you can use it when in your own workspace. We being a woman should not be a barrier. It should be used, we should be able to use our skills to the maximum. Then what happens is people think, being a woman, she's better than a man. Though I don't like this comparison. Why should you think a man is better than us? But generally people say, oh, being a woman, she's done a very good job. As if women can't do a good job, but that is how they compare. Yesterday I went to Christ College. So the students, to motivate the students to write civils. So one of the students asked me, ma'am, being a woman, did it come in your way of, doing the work for the people? And this is what I told them, that we should never think you're a woman or a man. You should think you're a human being and interacting with the other. Then being a woman doesn't be a barrier. So that's how then, as I started working for women, I did Devadasi rehabilitation. Devadasi is in the district of Raichur. And government said, we don't have Devdasis in Raichur. But then when we did the survey, we had Devdasis. Then we gave them land. Then the bureaucrats, my bosses were saying, why do you want to give land? Give them, tailoring. This is what normally they give to women. Tailoring, papad making, pickle making. Or give them something to do, milk animals. But when I interacted with the Devdasis, you must be knowing about Devdasi system where women are married off to the temple. In other words, they are forced into prostitution. That's on the cruder side. So when I interacted with them, they said, ma'am, who will buy our milk? If you give me a buffalo, you think the women of the village are going to buy the milk. If you give me tailoring, you think women are going to give clothes for stitching. Your idea of giving land is very good because the land value will go up. And I can grow crops. And I can sell the crops in the market. Nobody will know who's selling it. Then we can make money. I can educate my children and I can ensure that my daughter doesn't become a Devdasi again. Recently, after 35 years, thanks to the social media and things like that, and also the internet, one of the grandsons of the Devdasis made me to talk to them on a Zoom meeting. And they were so happy. They've become very old now, after 30, 35 years. And they said, we knew there was a lady who helped us, but we didn't know who she was. Now, because of the Zoom meeting, we are able to see you. And they were so happy. So I feel that when we have the power, when we have the position, we should help other women who are not as strong as we are. Maybe in the corporate world also we talk, one of the slides was, like there's a very small percentage of women at the highest level. If you look at the IT sector, I also worked as IT secretary for 2-3 years. So if I look at the IT sector, you see that women at the base, it's almost equal to men. 30 to 40, 45% women are there at the base. But as you go up, at the managerial level, it becomes 25, 30. And when it comes to CEO level, there's hardly 7 or 8% of women who are CEOs. And these women are also because, some of them are because of the family inheritance, or some may get because of the hard work. So now we should try to motivate women to reach the highest level. So how does it happen? One woman at the top pulls up at least 5. She has to pull up. Give her positions. When you are at a situation where you can give positions to women, give it to them. You make a chain of leaders. Be one helping 5. These 5 helping other 5. And that's how all the women, we can come up in life and we can break the barriers. How many minutes more? Another? Oh, 11, good. Thank you. So this is how, you can help the women. Say in corporates, after the CSR, etc. has come in, they've also said that there should be one woman in the board of directors. Initially, people started choosing some educated, well-meaning women as board of directors. Later on, they also got a bright idea. They started taking women in the family. Some sister-in-law, some niece, somebody's wife, as a representative in the board, to show that we also have taken a woman in the board. So the men will try to somehow cut the women out here and there. But it is left to us. I always say that why do we women have to look up to men to do something for us? Tell me. If there is a competition in the school between the class, the boy who comes first and the boy who comes second, do you think the boy who comes first will try to help the boy who comes second? He will not, because he feels he's a competitor. Similarly, when women are rushing into various fields now, they're equal to men everywhere. You can't expect the men to think for us. Maybe some of them do think for us, but not everyone. Now it is left to women, we to think about our women. I think that is the best way we can support each other and help them to break barriers. Instead of gossiping, instead of carrying tales, instead of feeling jealous, we can support each other. As I always said, world has enough space for everyone. And we need a little bit of maturity, little bit of management. It doesn't come just like that. It didn't come to me just like that. When I was in college, I also used to feel jealous of somebody who's competing with me, blah, blah. All that happens. Everybody's human. But as one grew in service, then once you gain in confidence, once you gain in self-confidence, you'll gain the capacity to understand the other person, to help the other person and not feel jealous about that person. I think all of us should try that because it is something which we need to work at. It's not that it happens so easily. If somebody in South India is fairer than you, in Andhra, you have to be very fair. Being dark-skinned itself, people feel jealous of somebody who's fair and who's not. So these small things, somebody who's rich, not rich, somebody who's good-looking, not good-looking, somebody who's educated, not somebody's family which is good and your family. But I don't think we should do that. We need to get over that. And when I was such a long journey, I'm just jumping from one post to the other. When I was in Delhi, I was Additional Secretary, Women and Child, and then I came back to Karnataka because somebody said, you have a chance of being a Chief Secretary. Why do you want to be in Delhi? You come back. So I came back. And then the post of Additional Secretary, Industries and Commerce, I think this I should share, had fallen vacant. And it was vacant for a month. Then when I came back, I called on the Chief Minister and said, sir, I've come back and I worked because of, I can say by chance, in several, I was IT Secretary, I was Export Processing Zone Commissioner, so a lot of experience in industry. So I came back and when I told the Chief Minister that, sir, this is my experience, he was also very new. He said, okay, let me see. Then when I met him again, he said, but the men are saying a woman can't head industries because you have to, you have to interact with corporates, you have to network with them over dinners, and women cannot do that. I said, why should we do that, sir, to achieve what we have to do if Karnataka has to reach a particular position? He said, I don't know, this is what your colleagues are saying. I said, sir, it's left to you. This is my background and this is what, I don't know, it was, I think, his good judgment or his goodness. He posted me as the first additional Chief Secretary, Commerce and Industries of Karnataka after, I think, independence. And when I took charge, I found that Karnataka was in the 13th position. And first of all, in the office, they didn't know in which position we were. Then we had to call up Delhi and find out. Then I worked towards getting companies, working with the corporates. And in the next year, we came to the 8th position, that is 2013 to 14. Then 14 to 15, we did Invest Karnataka for the first time. And we stood first in the country. And we defeated Gujarat. Gujarat was having 40,000 crores of exports, and we crossed 120,000 crores. So that is how I could prove to the world and prove to myself that one doesn't have to network, one doesn't have to go for parties, one has to only work hard and bring Karnataka to the first position. Then the second thing is when I did this, I was working with women entrepreneurs. Because I wanted to do I remember what Kashyapa told me in '86. His teacher's name was Kashyapa. So I said, I must do. I saw there were women entrepreneurs associations everywhere. But nobody was taking care of them. So I made a WhatsApp group of all these women entrepreneurs association presidents, had a meeting, and introduced a policy for women entrepreneurs for the first time in India. Special industrial parks for women in 5 parts of Karnataka. Incentives, concessions for these women, all because of the inputs from the women entrepreneurs. And we did Invest Karnataka, and we did Think Big, Asia's largest women entrepreneurs meet. And there was so much of positivity, exuberance, all women meeting. Wonderful it was. A lot of them got very good business. So once I retired, this WhatsApp group member said, ma'am, now you can't leave us like this. So we registered this as an NGO. And one of them suggested why don't you call the NGO Ubuntu Consortium? First, we thought we'll call it Ubuntu. But when we Googled, we saw there was already a Linux software called Ubuntu. And since we are a consortium of women entrepreneurs associations, we registered it as an NGO. And such a beautiful philosophy Ubuntu has. You must all Google it. It's an African story. How can I be happy if you are not happy? My happiness lies in your happiness. And together, we can grow. It's very beautiful. It says, I am because you are. I am because you are. I alone cannot be anything if you are not there. If you're not there, I cannot speak. With whom can I speak to? So I am because you are. You are because we are. And we are because you all are there. So a human being cannot live or function on his or her own. Together, we have to grow. And that is the spirit I think all of us should have, that we support each other. And it's become so beautiful. Now we have 56 associations across 11 states with 30,000 women entrepreneurs across India. Very good network. And whenever we meet, people will know that there's no jealousy. Competition will be there. Of course, competition has to be there. But all of us are networking, gelling with each other. Each association shares from the other. We grow together. The business is growing together. And we do 2 programs. One is WOW, Women of Worth, during the March, International Women's Day. And the other one, what we do is Together We Grow, which is International Women's Entrepreneurship Day. So we are growing together. And I think I have spoken, another 3 minutes are there, but I think I have set my point or brought it across to all of you that we women shall never think we are less than anybody. That is number 1. Number 2, we should work hard to realize our potential. And being a woman should not come in the way. We should not say, I'm a woman, I can't do this. That should not be. Never. Even if I feel I have to sacrifice. When I have to do all these things, definitely I have to sacrifice. I have to sacrifice on my holidays. I have to sacrifice on going to beauty parlor. I have to sacrifice on going to a movie. I have to sacrifice going out with friends sometime or the other. I need to sacrifice. If I'm going to be a leader, if I'm going to be at the base, then it's fine. Monday to Friday, you work. You go home, every month you take your salary. There are some people who are happy with that. But there's some people who have the capacity to grow. Don't allow that to be suppressed. You grow. You be a manager. You be a leader. And you be a CEO. Aspire to be a CEO. Why should you think it's not in your hands? You prove to the company that you can be a CEO. And how do you do that? You have to do a lot of juggling, man management. Time management, man management, so many things at home. We can't forget the fact that you are a woman again because you're a wife, you're a sister, you're a daughter, you're a mother. And the motherly instinct is so beautiful, you know. You can't do away with it. One day, one of my batchmates told me that she was DC of a district. When she went out and she came back, she asked her husband, who is a police officer, what about this fellow, the boy, He said, yeah, he's done his homework and I put him to sleep. He had an exam the next day. She said, as a mother, when I went and saw him, I felt something was wrong. And I put my hand and I found he was having high temperature, which the husband, being at home, couldn't make out. So the motherly instinct which we have, nature has given to us, is something which we should be proud of. So we need to balance. When we are talking of equality, it's a big contradiction in our mind. How do you manage, juggle between a home, the family, and the work? It's a $1 million question. But I think all of us are juggling and doing our best. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak.